Boundless Authenticity Podcast.
When you manifest, do you call in spirit? Do you imagine what you want? Do you use your right brain or your left brain? Well, I'm Laura Van Tyne, and I will be hosting a manifestation mastery course this coming January. And this isn't going to be your typical wishing and hoping and vision board kind of course. We're diving into strengthening our intuition, removing those pre-programmed belief structures, and working in the quantum field and more to help you achieve what you want and you deserve. Join us now by clicking on the link below.
Thanks for tuning in to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast. If you're new here, then hit like and follow. If you've been with me for a while, thank you for being a part of the journey. It's because of you that this podcast exists. You can follow Boundless Authenticity on Instagram at Boundless Authenticity, and you can find me on X at Boundless AUTH. If you want to be a guest on the show, or you have a story to share, or you just have questions, you can reach me at self-sabotageinfo@proton.me. Today, we're tackling the subject of manifestation, and to do that, we will be talking with Laura Van Tyne. Laura transcends the barriers between dimensions with her unique approach to communication, linking the higher self and subconscious self for optimal soul health. She blends her earthly acquired expertise with universal knowledge. Laura's awakening began when paranormal forces invaded her home. She dedicated the next 10 years to studying and gaining insights to heal her family and humanity. While raising 3 daughters, she was married and had a dog, 2 cats, a rabbit, and chickens. Additionally, she engaged in beekeeping while maintaining her career as a school teacher. Laura says, "For years, I was angry with God. Why would he allow this to happen to my family? In hindsight, I realized that those horrific events served as my training ground, enabling me to do what I do today. Now I can look back and understand that I am truly blessed and honored to be of service to others." Laura didn't know how her previous career path would benefit her, but later she discovered that these tools had significantly contributed to her success and much more. Her thirst for knowledge knew no bounds as she scoured the globe, seeking enlightenment from a diverse array of sources, including renowned medical doctors, mathematicians, healers, psychics, shamans, websites, and books. Laura also communicates with beings from higher realms and galactic entities. These connections enable her to gain the special knowledge she generously shares with individuals during lectures, conferences, books, podcasts, classes, and therapy sessions. Laura says, "Studying Spanish in the Yucatan, Mexico, felt like home to me as a college exchange student. Now I realize that my affinity for languages enables me to communicate with the other beings in the angels to help humanity. That was almost 20 years ago." Laura feels honored to serve others, infusing each encounter with humor, compassion, and love for humanity. Learn more about Laura's journey in her book, Battle with the Dark Side, My Journey from Teacher to Exorcist. Please visit lauravantyne.com. We are going to talk about manifestation. I know everybody has questions about manifestation, and there is so much that goes into it, and yet it's really not that hard, is it? You tell me.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard. I decided to release it at this moment in time because astrologically speaking, we're ending that year of the snake, the shedding of old habits, of old things that no longer serve us. We're ready to bring in something new, right? With the new fire horse energy. So that's kind of why I timed it around this area, but we don't have to start manifesting at any certain point. We just do it. And it's not that hard. The biggest obstacle I find when I work with people is these pre-programmed beliefs that we have that we don't know we have that hold us back. The biggest ones come from childhood. So as children, the adults in our life are our universe. We know no differently, right? We assume that everybody else's childhood is similar to ours because we don't have the current life experiences designed to show us anything different. It's only as we start to grow older, have friends, classmates, whatever, that we start to see the variety of different lives and lifestyles people live. A lot of people grow up thinking that being abused is normal. That's a pre-programmed belief. Well, weren't you abused? Didn't your daddy beat you? Kind of thing. This is pre-programmed belief structures that we need to kind of start looking at so we can unwind what is rightfully ours in our manifestation process. As we learn how to do this, we just have to sit with it. What is holding me back? That's the first thing.
Yeah. So you say when it comes to manifestation, what is it that's holding me back? What happens to the parts of ourselves that we bury when we don't want to accept that something is the way that it is? And so we just start adding more and more layers to those pre-programmed beliefs. What happens energetically? How do you fix that?
A lot of times it can make us sick when we start to bury these elements of these pre-programmed beliefs, things that we don't want to be true, but we know they're true. Maybe you want to manifest a relationship, but every relationship you have seems to have a common theme and variation. There's something there for you to learn. This is an opportunity. It's not oh gosh, I'm a failure. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. And our subconscious self is really it's one of several key aspects to manifestation. Our subconscious self, it's the aspect of us that keeps our heart beating, reminds us to breathe. That's one aspect of the subconscious. The subconscious is also the record keeper of our soul. What we experience as a soul goes into these Akashic records, and they have to get there somehow. And the subconscious is one of those elements that helps to put those records in there for us so we can learn from, so we can dive into them later, or even in our current incarnations with the proper help. And so with our subconscious, it responds to the orders it's given. Okay, our subconscious is responsive to the orders it is given. If you tell your computer, and I talk about this in one of the little mini lessons, if you tell your computer, do not pull up the file on manifestation, what is it going to do? Right? It's looking for a file on manifestation. It's filling in the blanks. So it's going to do this. We need to reprogram those thoughts. We need to work with our subconscious to have these thoughts and thought patterns shift for our greater good.
If someone is suspecting that they have these childhood imprints, how can they know for sure? And what is their next step?
If you think you have, look at in your life what's not working for you or what is not working as smoothly as you would like to work for you. Do you keep hitting a roadblock? Let's say it's about finances. I think one of the biggest things people want to manifest are finances. And it's not that we're greedy. It's just that it makes life roll smoother, right? So let's say I want to manifest. I make money to a certain point. I'm able to save money to a certain point, and then something keeps happening. There's a money blockage there that we might not consciously be aware of. So if you keep getting into this area of a money blockage, maybe I can save up to let's say $10,000. And then after that, I need a computer, I need a car, whatever. Every time I get to that little magic number in finances, then something happens. What is going on and what is holding us back? And so it's important to take the time to see what that is so you can remove it. And that was one of my issues was with finances way back when, because when I was small, I kept having things taken away from me. And it was a lot of things. They were just taken away. They were out of my control. And even money. I was gifted money to go to college. I was gifted things like that. And then by the time I got there, it had disappeared without my knowledge. Somebody else had taken it. So I had to really work through that process. And it's not an easy process because with that, we have to become okay with certain betrayals. There's a certain level of forgiveness that needs to happen. But when I say forgiveness, we have to remember that forgiveness is not forgetness. If somebody wrongs us, it's my job, my opportunity to learn how to make peace with that for myself. It's really not about the other person. It doesn't mean that I have to forget what they did, but it's up to me to make peace with it, because when I can make peace with the wrongdoing that somebody inflicted upon me, intentionally or unintentionally, that means I am starting to master my emotions. When we can learn how to master our emotions and not fly off the handle or not bury them under a rug, we gain control. We gain some more wisdom. We gain some more discernment. And those are key factors when it comes to manifestation also.
Is manifesting the same as the law of attraction?
Good question. I'm going to say yes and no. We attract what we want, what we fear, what we desire. We attract these things. So if I'm living in a fear mode, I'm going to be attracting fear. If I'm in a lack mode, I'm attracting lack, right? And when it comes to manifestation, we have to learn how to circumvent properly without spiritual bypassing. And we can talk about that in a second. We have to learn how to go beyond that. How do we enter that space where my emotions are now in alignment with what I want? Because if I want $1 million and I think about myself having $1 million, and I'm like, oh, that can't happen, or I get nervous or I get flustered, I'm not in alignment with having $1 million. It can't happen for me if I'm not in alignment with it, which is somewhat of a law of attraction, right?
Yeah, I've heard people say they want $1 million, and I'm like, okay, well, your first thing is stop spending $1 million.
Yeah, right.
People don't understand how much money actually passes through their hands in a lifetime, right?
That is true. That is true. And, if we're in this position where money keeps just flowing through my bank account like a sieve or a colander, when you're making pasta, where are the leaks, right? We got to figure out where those leaks are. And a big part of manifestation is, yes, attuning to the subconscious self, attuning to the higher self. But we also have to have physical 3D actionable items. We can't just wish and hope. That's not going to get us very far. But we have to have the plan. We have to create those elements to gain a success. So what if instead of money flows through my hands like water, what if it becomes, I'm learning to become more responsible with money? It's a shift in our paradigm. It's a small shift, but it makes a big difference.
Right. I guess another common question would be, how long does it take to manifest?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right? I'm going to say it depends. And when I work with manifestations, with manifesting something, sometimes it's instant. Sometimes it can be a few weeks, a month. Sometimes it can be years. It depends on what it is. A big part of this also becomes, is there any form of karma involved? And I think the issue of karma has changed substantially, our understanding of it over the past few years, because of the unseen energetic negative forces that keep impacting us, right? That shifts and mitigates karma. So I need a better word than that, honestly. So is there something, if I want $1 million and I'm doing all the things, but if I get $1 million, does that take me off my soul's path to discover something else down the road? Because now I have $1 million, I'm no longer working at my job, which means I no longer can work. I'm no longer working with my colleagues who might become my future spouse, right? So everything we do shifts our reality. So is there something bigger behind the manifestation? Is it a timing issue? Is it something that will deny you of the experiences that you're supposed to have on your soul's path?
So tell me about some of the things that prevent manifestation with regards to, let's say, unworthiness and trying to sort that all out.
Oh, that's a big one. Most kids, when we're little, the sky is everything, all these infinite possibilities, infinite everything, right? When we're small children. But what happens is we have the adults around us that tell us, oh, that's not possible, or don't do that. There's a very negative aspect to a lot of parenting styles, right? And so when we start to think about this, what aspect is holding me back? What can I really dive into? And in the course, I'm just asking people to find one element that really holds them back. And then we work on that. And we might, some people it's easier than others. Maybe you only need to work on it for maybe a couple weeks. Maybe some people need years. Maybe some people need a lifetime. I hate to say that. That's just such a downer, but it's true. To really lift this false veil that is over us, because we do have the ability to manifest what we want and desire, but we have to be able to become in alignment with what we desire.
Going along with that theme, tell me about rumination and negative self-talk.
I call it rumination damnation. It's the stuff where you're always talking bad about yourself. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I don't deserve this. All of these elements add up. They become these burdens on our shoulders. And look at the ropes in my jacket are just teeming with burdens, right? I just realized I should have worn a different jacket. Oh, well. But the rumination damnation concept is really, we have to realize that we are worth it. This is a really hard concept for people because, again, this comes down to self-sabotage, right? And this is what really blocks people. And I do believe that a lot of our institutions as children imprint this upon us, this rumination damnation, if it's within the churches that we go to, the schools that we attend, or the family dynamics. A lot of children are pushed into these positions where they're just not worthy. This is especially true if somebody's dealing with, they were sexually assaulted or constantly beaten, or even the verbal abuse, because I must not have been worthy. Right? That's the logic trail that goes to the 4-year-old child. I must not be worthy. So we learn to just keep quiet, head down, and just slide through and deny ourselves our voice. And this is part of that negative self-talk that we have to really start to learn to overcome, because we're worth it. Nobody deserves to be that negatively influential on you, especially if it's you. So we have to learn how to shed that skin. That's a big deal. This is a huge soul lesson. It's a soul opportunity to learn how to shed that negative self-talk. And it's hard. If you can't look in the mirror, look at your eyes in the mirror and say, I love you, without choking up, without a stutter in your voice, there's something you need to work on. And nobody can do it but you, right?
So what about digging into past lives then to figure out what's happening?
So past lives are very interesting. We don't live a life here on earth and just die and go sit on a cloud and play the harp forever. That would be awesome, right? But we come here with the total combined experiences of our soul in each incarnation. We can reincarnate on this planet. We can reincarnate on other planets. Even our lives between lives, my lifetime between this lifetime and my next lifetime, we're still having these experiences. So when we can look into, if I've got a blockage that keeps coming up over and over and over, sometimes a past life regression can heal that blockage by opening up an awareness. Let's say it's a money problem. Maybe in a past, I do a past life regression, and maybe in a past life, my current life cousin was, the rival tribe that stole our property. And everything was taken away. Or maybe I stole somebody's property and it was taken away. So this is where past lives can really, really be helpful. I did a past life regression that was actually kind of interesting. Same thing about manifestation. This guy wanted to stop using hard drugs. And he turned 40 years old. He'd been doing every hard drug known to man. I can't even believe he's alive. And he started when he was 14. And he wanted to do a past life regression because he wanted to figure out why. And he wanted to make sure he stopped using drugs, that he would not relapse. And I thought, wow, that was really interesting. And not only that, but it really takes a big person to come to those conclusions. Like maybe there was something else. And we go into this regression, and all of a sudden he drops in, and I have a permission to share this story, by the way. He drops in into this really low voice, and the first words out of his mouth were, "I was a very, very bad man." I'm like, oh, that's going to be interesting. I'd never had anybody say that to me before. And in this process, he was a drug dealer during the era of Al Capone in Chicago. And he was a white guy dealing drugs he had a target, 14-year-old Black boys. Think about that. And in that lifetime, he did a lot of damage. I think the damage that he did in that Chicago area, and even echoes out, still continues, because drug addictions are still a really big deal. But in this lifetime, his very first drug dealer was discovered was at the age of 14, a Black kid, and my client was white. That was his first drug dealer. So that was literally the same, different side of the same coin playing through. Once he realized what he did and he could start atoning for it, things shifted for him quite readily. But that's a huge burden.
Literally, the forces that control everything saying, okay, let's see how you like it.
Yes, right? I did another past life regression, a Native American man who was trying to overcome addictions too. And in a previous life, he was a white general or colonel or something, moving Native Americans across the United States plains, relocating them, and he was horribly abusive. And in this lifetime, he had to undergo the hardships that he put other people through. Now, most past lives aren't that brutal, the regressions, but they can come out that way. But it gives us a perspective as to what we need to heal.
That is a good example of karma in action, I suppose. So let's talk about the idea of karma for somebody else. Like,
karma is just balance. In its most basic form, it's just balance. It's not something to be feared. It's not, to be punishment. It's just balance. And the balance can be just exquisitely beautiful also, right? You are, helping somebody. Maybe it's as simple as crossing the street. And then later on, somebody pays that forward. It can be that simple. It doesn't need to be this huge, omnipotent overseer of all things that happen to us, but it's just balance.
You're right. I agree with that. Sometimes I look at people and I think to myself, your next life is going to suck.
Yeah, I get that. And it's not about living a life of perfection either, right? There is no learning in perfection, but it's doing the best we can under these circumstances. And this is where learning powerful manifestation tools can really help us as we start to really tune into higher self and subconscious self and, that quantum field where there's infinite possibilities can help us with wisdom and discernment and making good decisions. If I want to manifest a lot of money so I can buy more, illicit drugs, that's really not in my best interest now, is it?
And yet drug addicts are really good at finding money for drugs.
I know. Wow. Why? Right?
I think if the average person was as good at finding money for everything else they need, you'd be out of business. There would be no manifesting course.
I know. And that's okay, right? That would be a good day. As and the audience probably knows, I do a lot of other things, but this manifestation thing has just been, I keep hearing, do it to get this stuff out, because ultimately it helps people live better lives. A lot of the stuff I do with removal of certain beings and entities, it does impact what we can manifest. So if I feel like I'm inhabited by something dark, it's going to that unseen energetic force is going to try to put, blockages in my pathway too. It just means we have to work harder. That's all.
So, anytime I've wanted to, let's say, change my life, there's always been this barrier that I've had to go through where I knew I'm being primed for something and there's a lot of stuff happening and I just need to make sure that my emotions are correct. Because sometimes you have people that are problematic, or let's use the example of somebody I was talking to the other day, just to be specific. She was married to this guy for 4 years. She's had a child for each year that she was with this dude. Woke up one day and realized, you know what? This guy has been playing me and using me for all that I am for this whole time.
Wow.
And I'm just done with all of it. I'm done trying to make excuses for the way that he is. And I want to move on with my life and get what I deserve. But she's so burnt out. She doesn't know how to move forward. And she's dealing with, 4 children in 4 years is a lot of taxation on.
That's a lot.
So that her nervous system is hurting from all of that as well. And the mental impact of everything. So if somebody's in a dire situation like that, how do you get in control of your emotions? And, what kind of mindset do you have to move into to make sure that what you're doing isn't out of revenge or anger or, regret and all those things?
You've got to give yourself the gift of time. Now, when you have 4 children in 4 years, I don't know how you get the gift of time, right? Some space, if it's support from other family or something like that she's going to have to really look into what she can do. This is a big deal. And for somebody in that situation, it's hard. And I'm going to say maybe she learned a lesson before, the 5th child in the 5th year came along, that kind of thing. But we don't know why those children are born to this particular set of parents either. Is there something going on that this is why this family was created this way on a bigger cosmic scale? We don't know that. But for her to be able to get the wherewithal to really get focused and move forward, it's going to be hard. I mean, I don't know what job you could find that would pay the daycare bill, at least in the United States, right? I was a public school teacher with a master's degree and 3 kids, and that didn't pay the daycare bill. I mean, in the United States, at least, daycare is ridiculously expensive. So it's coming down with the plan. If you can come up with a plan and start to execute to the plan, even if it's just a little bit at a time, it starts to give you back your hope, right? And she's also probably in an identity crisis, like, who am I really? What am I doing? How do I manage this? This is huge overwhelm. And I know she's not the only one like that, especially in this day and age where overwhelm is everywhere.
Yeah, we are talking to a pretty big audience, but mostly in the United States and Canada.
Okay.
And shout out to all the listeners in the USA and Canada. And that one person in Pakistan.
Right?
And one random person. But everybody has these problems that are inherently as a result of the global culture that we live in, this culture of disempowerment where everything just seems to be so backwards and so like you're in a sinking ship with about a cup and all you can do is just scoop that one cup out as fast as you can, right? And so people are struggling, and I want to acknowledge that.
I do. It's like I keep draining the Atlantic Ocean with a teaspoon. That's usually my phrase, right? It's like, and it just can't happen fast enough. And I think, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this too. I feel like time in general has been accelerated in this particular incarnation for all of us. I feel like time moves so fast now where it didn't used to. What are your thoughts on that?
I have too many thoughts for just this podcast, so I will nod and agree with you.
Okay.
Let's move along. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, time really gets away from you. And if you're an impatient person, then you're screwed, you know?
Right. That is true. All you Aries out there. Just kidding, Aries. But it does take time. It does take effort. And for her to, carve out this plan where even if she can make a little bit of a dent, maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's monthly, something where she can see her progress. And this is where, if people are into writing journals, writing and dating a journal entry can be so empowering when you go back to look at it. And, I was just looking at some old journal entries that I wrote about 20 years ago with all the dark forces that came into our home. And I was like, wow, that was such an overwhelming thing we were dealing with. This three-headed crocodile, which I know now was a reptilian shapeshifter. And it was like the biggest nemesis, right? And I look at it now saying, wow, have I come a long ways? And know what it is, B, I know how to get rid of it. So when we can write about our history, what's happening, and even our thoughts and emotions around it, and date it, we go back and look, and it's like, you know what? I did pretty good. It's a really good reminder, because when we get in the throes of everyday reality, we forget how much we've accomplished.
Well, that reminds me of the very simple old saying, just give time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For some people, I guess it can be a slow crawl. And we have this inherent tendency to want to manifest the thing right now, right? But it's all dependent on the degree to which you need to change or what you can change. Because sometimes there's other people that are factors in that too. So whatever you do has to be a really slow crawl. People often talk to me and they expect that I'm going to have this advice for them about self-sabotage or whatever. And I'm like, I don't really have anything for you, because the problem is that you're unconsciously an addict to familiar pain. And it's up to you to sit with that. Nothing that anybody can do, like nothing that Laura Van Tyne can do for anybody or anything that I can do for anybody is going to equate to the magnitude of what a person actually learns from taking your course or going to any other helping modality. You have to be in a state of learning, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times people sit in the comfort of the discomfort of pain. And, that ain't cool. Maybe they need those experiences, but, getting out of the comfort zone of pain is so liberating. And we don't even know we're doing it, right? So there's a lot of keys and cues and things that we go through, especially in this manifestation process, because what I found really rather, I'm going to call it annoying, you got books like The Secret and stuff. Well, they forget a lot of important things about manifestation. One is that we have to see it if we have to believe it and see it. If we can't believe I'm capable or I'm worthy, it's never going to happen for you. And then once I am in alignment, right, with that, with my emotions, with my thoughts, with my desires, then what's my next step, right? And this is where I like to talk about, honestly, entering the quantum field. And the quantum field is simply a space of infinite potential, infinite realities. And you got to pick yours. And you can pick yours, but then you know what? What if you allow your higher self to pick something even more miraculous?
So going along with that, let's kind of dive back into the topic of self-sabotage a little bit. Somebody wants something, but they're not thinking in the right way and their emotions are all over the place. And everything that they do is just counter to what they want. They make excuses for their partner. They make excuses for their boss, all these different things that people do.
People who make excuses for other people, in my opinion, they've lost their voice since they were children. There is a placation happening so they don't ruffle feathers, right? And when we do that, we're denying ourselves our opportunity to be our authentic self. It's the hardest thing to do. I was working with somebody the other day who literally is in this position. And it's like, well, what does it sound like to have your voice back? What you need to tell your boss an honest truth instead of you're sugarcoating it, and it's making the company policies even worse. What happens when you speak your truth from an honest point of view, not from one of, an explosive anger, because we build and build and build and build, and all of a sudden, everything explodes around us. How do we dial it back and give the message? A lot of times it's just role playing. Saying it out loud, practice in the mirror, have a friend, tell a friend what's going on, ask for words of advice on how to proceed. What's the best course of action? How can we get our messages across? Because this is a big part of this self-sabotage stuff, is not being heard. We could be speaking too, but we're still not being heard. How do we get heard? We have to choose a moment. Right? We have to choose a space. Sometimes we have to wait. But when that moment comes, be ready. Have those thoughts literally written down in your pocket, just so you have them. You don't have to read them, but have them ready. And I like it to when people will give bullet points, right? If you're trying to make your case for an argument, just write down 3 bullet points with like 3 or 5 words on it, because it keeps your thoughts simplified. A lot of the self-sabotage becomes that rumination, damnation. Well, then she did this, and then she said that, and then I did this, and then she did this. That doesn't serve anybody. Just cut it, stop, and go back to the basics. And it's okay to, in private, go punch the pillow or whatever it is you want to do. But when you're dealing with it, go back to the basics. Stop with that self-sabotage talk. And the self-sabotage talk can actually be yelling and screaming too, right? And so you have to know you have it and that you can do it.
Yeah, I would agree. What about if you're afraid that what you're trying to manifest is going to affect somebody else negatively?
If you're manifesting that your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend breaks up with their relationship, that's not cool, right? When you manifest, you want to manifest something for you, not out of spite. That's rule number 1 right there. What can you manifest to enhance your life with integrity, authenticity, with love, with joy? Those are the emotions we want to be in alignment with. We don't want to align ourselves with, I'm just going to manifest that, so-and-so, has a car accident and they can't go to work and now I get their job. That type of stuff is so dangerous karmically. So just keep it simple and keep it on your objective for what is for your greater good. There's plenty for everybody. There's plenty of money. There's plenty of jobs. There's plenty of relationships. There's plenty for everybody, but we have to be wise about it.
I guess we can go into taking small steps to manifesting something. Tell me about how good deeds and good actions fall into that.
Good deeds and good actions, living a life in which you are in alignment with. So, for example, good deeds and good actions. Am I living an honest life? It doesn't mean I'm perfect. Am I living a life with love? Am I helpful? Am I of spiritual service? Those are good deeds and actions. And as we live a life in that manner, it actually accelerates our abilities to manifest, because we're already in alignment with these higher level frequencies and emotions. Our base is much more solid. And so when we talk about building our frequency, building our base, when we get hit and knocked down, if we have a strong foundation, we can get back up easier. It's not like we're trying to climb up a pile of cards, right? We're just climbing up. We get back up there. So that's a big part of living this authentic life to manifest, because when we come from here, it happens faster. And so now I can kind of think a random thought, and I don't do it often. I don't know. I always use it for parking spaces. I take that back. And I use it for certain things, the manifestation. You know what? I could really use this, or, oh, I would really appreciate this. And actually, I have it right here. One of the last things I manifested was this beautiful piece of moldavite. And I talk about this little guy right here. And I was just like thinking, one day I could really use a really nice piece of moldavite. That's all. Thought in, thought out. Didn't think about it much. And then about 2 months later or something, this stranger comes up to me at a conference I'm speaking at and says, I think you need this piece of moldavite. What are the odds, right? But I put it out to the universe. And somehow the universe heard that and brought her to me. The others, I try to manifest things a lot, but sometimes, I'm looking for certain things and I get kind of picky about it. And it may take a while, but it's also a game for me. When I look at manifestation, look at it as a game, because I don't want to get heavily emotionally involved in like, oh my God, I really need this right now. Because when we start manifesting and we get to the point where we have to beg, it's a little late, right?
Yeah. You always hear these stories about people that, or what is it called? It's this goofy ass name. Cosmic ordering. I think that's what it is, where people get all emotional. They start crying about something and then all of a sudden God gives them what they want. I don't really believe in that.
No, there's many forces out there that are unseen, right? And you got to make sure you're not selling your soul either. I don't want to scare people with that, but, did you come by it honestly? Did you come by it, with integrity? But when we can learn how to manifest the little things and we get really good at it, when we need the bigger ask, it's so much easier. It's so much easier.
Yeah. Not saying that there's anything wrong with saying, okay, look, I will do whatever it is you want. just surrender to it or something. And just
I had enough, universe. Yeah.
I'm ready. Just put me in the right direction, I guess that goes into right timing too. Tell me about right timing.
We have to be in alignment for what we're manifesting. And so timing is always an issue, no matter what we're doing. If we leave for work 5 minutes late, but yet, and we're kind of upset with ourselves, like, I can't believe I'm late, and then you find out there was an accident that you just missed because you left 5 minutes late. That's a timing issue. The same thing can happen with manifestation too. Maybe we think we want this thing right now. Maybe I wanted this moldavite right now, but maybe it took 2 years to get to me. Maybe I wasn't in the right space to accept the responsibility of that moldavite. I mean, it's a pretty powerful piece. Maybe I needed more time to learn how to grow into these certain responsibilities before I got what I wanted to manifest.
So tell me about spiritual bypassing. You mentioned that earlier.
You can't chat GPT our way through spirituality, right? Spiritual bypassing is when we start doing these shortcuts to get an outcome to enhance our spiritualness, so to speak. I was asked to do, some work with a particular person, and he would ask me to bring up concepts. Well, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? And so I would bring it up. And then he would show up and he's like, well, yeah, I just typed it in Chat GP and this is what it said about, it could have been like, and I'm just like, oh dear God, we can't do this. We have to do the work. We got to do the work. And the work doesn't have to be hard and laborious. Look at it as an adventure. So if I am trying to figure out how to make my home foundation stronger so I don't have entities, et cetera, I need to make sure maybe my house is clean. I need to make sure that I've got the right elements in my home. For example, if I look at something, maybe it's in my bedroom and I don't like the way it looks or feels, why do I need it in my bedroom where I sleep at night? Do I even need it at all? It's just an object. It's just a 3D physical thing. Can I throw it away? Can I regift it? Can I, whatever it is, but why do I need it? So look around your home. If there's something in your home that doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. Unless it's the pile of bills, deal with it. And just get rid of it. That's that easy. And if it's something in your home that you need to deal with, then deal with it. And we all have these things where it's like, oh God, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And we start thinking about it, and it takes up space in our head, and it stops us from moving forward in other ways of our life. Just sit down and do it. And then you feel so much better and so much lighter.
In your course, you mention learning to manifest something small.
Yeah. Start small. What is some small little widget that you would like to manifest? Is it, rock star parking? Is it, like one of the things, I don't even have it here right now, but I manifested a coffee cup, which I talk about. I manifested some elite shungite that I wanted also. And actually I have it right here because I was using it earlier today. And it's literally a set of angel wings as elite shungite. And so it was like, you know what? I could really use a plate of elite shungite to put jewelry on or my pendulum on, just to, keep it clear. And so wherever I went, I would have that in my mind's eye. I'm looking for some elite shungite. And it's not like I run around rock shops all the time. So it took me a year or so to find a plate of elite shungite. But when I did, it was made out of angel wings, or carved into angel wings, which I thought was really cool. So it took a while for that one to happen, but have fun with it. Be patient with yourself. And then when it comes, you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's always the biggest satisfaction. But yeah, that's cool.
I can definitely attest that your methods work. I mean, I heard all the stuff that you said in the part of the course that I've done so far, and I really let it marinate. And I thought to myself, okay, a couple of days have passed. Let me test this stuff out, right? So I'm like, what is something small I can manifest? Well, I'm hungry. I haven't had a pizza in a while.
Right?
So I'm like, okay, all right, universe, give me some pizza. Go through the steps as it's set out in your course. And I think to myself, okay, well, that doesn't solve the problem about being hungry right now. So I get this pizza. I'm like, okay, well, I manifested a pizza. But
yeah,
a couple of days later, somebody bought me a pizza just out the clear blue. I didn't have to ask for it or anything. So whatever it is, it works, right? That's what I'm saying. That's what I want people to understand. Yeah, and it's the small thing.
Yeah, it's small, but when it happened, how did you feel? Right?
Well, I wasn't thinking about it because I'd already had the pizza. I'd already satisfied my desire for it. But I also figured that I put myself on the vibration of pizza and just acceptance that a pizza is going to show up, and that sometimes to manifest something, you just reach in your pocket, pull out a few dollars, and you buy the thing, And I didn't have any thought to it at all. And so I was surprised. I was like, oh, shit.
That's the goal right there. And when these little things pop up, it's just fun. And it's the idea of it is, not to take manifestation so seriously. It's all time consuming. Have fun with it. Bring some joy into it. What silly little thing can I manifest? Maybe I want to manifest a special gift for like my brother or whatever, right? I'm looking for the perfect gift for so-and-so. Help me find the perfect gift. I don't know what that perfect gift is for so-and-so, but it'll show up. But when we manifest for somebody else like that, it actually adds to our little karmic bank accounts too.
Let's talk about the unseen negative forces that get in the way of manifesting.
There are people out there that have blockages, right? No matter what they do, they hit a roadblock. They can never get a promotion at work. Every car they buy is a lemon, whatever it is. What is the energy behind that? And a lot of times, and you and I have had these discussions and experiences where these unseen energies, these dark forces will stop us. And so they're just parasites. right? They need us. We don't need them. And when we can understand if there's something nefarious like that blocking us or putting roadblocks in our way, we have the authority and the right to remove them and to live our fullest life, because what they're doing is they are mitigating our free will. They're stopping my full soul sovereignty. They have no right to do this. If you feel like this is happening to you, there's some tools and things you can do. So one of the tools we talk about a lot is how do you remove them? Bring in your angels. Ask for angels from the higher realms to come in and remove any heavy energies, negative entities. That's a really good start. It's a free start. Start practicing. Bring in your angels every night before you go to bed. Start to work with them. Start to talk with them. And you can do it in your mind's eye so your family's not thinking, oh, they're talking to angels again in their bedroom, Mom, right? But in all seriousness, they can hear us in all dimensions. Angels are here to serve humanity. They cannot serve humanity unless we ask them to. So we need to give them the ask. Angels, would you please, or I actually half the time I don't even use please. I'm like, I need, let's say there's a ghost. I'm requesting a team of angels to remove this ghost from my energy field and take it to the appropriate realm right now. But I have a really good team I've been working with for years, so we understand each other. And so it happens instantaneously. So work on talking and communicating with your angels, vetting your angels, visualize yourself pouring salt on them. That's the easiest way to make sure you've got the real deal. Because you don't deserve to have these roadblocks put in front of you from these nefarious ones. They have no right to be here. They're in violation of spiritual law. But until someone does something about it, no one cares. It's no different than if you have a burglar or a gangster or whatever roaming the streets of your neighborhood and nobody does anything about it. They just keep stealing and taking and breaking. They're going to keep stealing, taking, and breaking. There's no reason for them to stop. The same thing applies in this dimension too.
Any closing thoughts?
We all deserve to have the life that we desire. We all deserve to have the lessons and opportunities presented to us and have fun with it. Don't always be so serious. And right now, this planet is so serious. There's a lot of heaviness going on, but one of the biggest things that we can do to thwart the heaviness is literally bring joy around and happiness and laughter. Laughter is the biggest buzzkill for any dark entity, okay? That true belly laughter, and just have fun with it and enjoy the process of manifestation as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on the Boundless Authenticity Podcast. Tell everyone where they can find you.
LauraVanTine.com is the easiest way. And Laura Van Tine on social media stuff too. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, you're welcome. And we should probably mention it's the Conscious Arts Mystery School.
Yes. And it's on the website, LauraVanTine.com. So the Conscious Arts Mystery School is a series of online courses that I offer to help people. And one of the biggest things I'd been getting for the past year or two was people wanted to know how to manifest properly, efficiently, quickly. And that's why I came up with that course.
All right, great. So all you got to do is visit lauravantine.com. You're looking for Conscious Arts Mystery School, Manifestation Mastery, but there are others as well, including energetic sovereignty, your soul's health, spiritual self-defense. I advise you check it out because, let's be honest, I've had Laura do things for me and she knows what she's talking about. Out of all the fuddy-duddies that I've come across, I can tell you one thing.
Thank you.
Laura Van Tine is not that. So link will be in the bio. Also, there's a 20% off all the other courses. That's Boundless 20 discount code and Boundless 333 for the manifestation course to get a significant price reduction. Links in the bio. You're listening to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast, where we discuss everything related to the evolution of human consciousness.
At the very least, people need to understand that the United States builds bunkers, which are basically cities underground, every 3 months.
Basically, when you dream, you tap into your subconscious. It is your nocturnal intuition, your creativity and imagination unchained from conscious reason, ego and logic.
They're biologically alive, but they have no soul. They have AI consciousness. They can alter your conscious of the brain to get the brain.
We live in a multidimensional reality, whether it comes through esoteric information in the spiritual realms or the UFO people, experiencers, or mainstream through quantum physics and through mainstream science now realizing that parallel dimensions probably exist.
We're all spiritual beings. We're all having these human experiences. We've heard that phrase over and over and over. But what does that really mean?
You know, all the big questions of life, we have these answers inside of our souls.
We're ultimately studying the nature of what it is to be human, good and evil, our psychology, how we think, and our health. That's why I love Bruce Lee's great quote, all knowledge is ultimately self-knowledge.
The Boundless Authenticity Podcast.